Dealmaker-in-Chief, Trump's unorthodox diplomacy, a title that evokes both curiosity and controversy. Donald Trump, a man who needs no introduction, his name is synonymous with bold moves and headline-grabbing statements, unless you've been living under a rock, or in a blissful state of blissful ignorance, in which case, you might have missed the whirlwind of his diplomatic escapades, which, frankly, sounds quite appealing right now. Imagine a world where the news cycle doesn't dictate your peace of mind. But let's be honest, folks, Trump's approach to international relations, it's, shall we say, unconventional. He has redefined the playbook, often throwing caution to the wind. He's the self-proclaimed deal-maker-in-chief, a man who thrives on chaos and brinkmanship. His strategies often leave both allies and adversaries guessing, and nowhere is this more evident than in his dealings with Canada and Mexico, two countries that share not just borders but deep economic ties with the United States. Our neighbors to the north and south, our NAFTA partners. The North American Free Trade Agreement has been a cornerstone of our economic relationship, the folks we share a continent with, people who cross borders daily for work, family and trade. Trump's approach? Slap them with tariffs. His administration imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum, shaking the foundations of long-standing trade practices, threatened to tear up agreements, demand concessions. His tactics were aggressive, aiming to renegotiate terms that he believed were unfair to the U.S. It's enough to make your head spin. The rapid changes and constant threats created an atmosphere of uncertainty. But fear not, dear viewers, because tonight we delve into the wild, wacky world of Trump's trade wars with Canada and Mexico. We'll explore the highs and lows, the wins and losses. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. From renegotiating NAFTA to the USMCA, Trump's journey through trade diplomacy has been nothing short of a roller coaster. The USMCA, or the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, was touted as a significant victory. It replaced NAFTA and aimed to create a more balanced trade environment. But what does this mean for the average person? For farmers, factory workers, and consumers? The impacts are far-reaching and complex. Economists and trade analysts have debated the long-term effects. Some argue it strengthens the U.S. position, while others worry about the potential for trade disruptions. Public opinion has been divided. Protests and rallies have highlighted the contentious nature of these policies. Political cartoons have depicted the trade wars in a myriad of ways. As Trump addressed the nation, international leaders reacted with a mix of caution and cooperation. News anchors dissected every move, every tweet. The global trade landscape is ever evolving, and Trump's unorthodox diplomacy has left an indelible mark on it. Whether for better or worse, only time will tell. So, as we continue to navigate this complex web of international relations, let's remember that diplomacy is as much about the people as it is about policies. And in the end, it's the connections we build and the bridges we create that will shape the future of our world. Stay tuned as we unravel more of Trump's unorthodox diplomacy. Let's talk tariffs, shall we? These are the taxes imposed on imported goods, and they play a crucial role in international trade. Those pesky little taxes on imported goods can have a big impact on the economy. They affect everything from the price of everyday items to the health of entire industries. Trump loves them. He sees them as a bargaining chip, a tool to leverage in negotiations. To him, tariffs are more than just economic measures. They're a way to assert dominance on the global stage, a way to punish his enemies and reward his allies. He uses tariffs to pressure other countries into bending to his will, often creating tension and uncertainty in international relations. And maybe, just maybe, protect American jobs. Or so he claims. The reality? It's complicated. While tariffs can theoretically protect domestic industries by making imported goods more expensive, the actual outcomes are often mixed. Tariffs can drive up prices for consumers. When the cost of imported goods rises, so does the price tag on store shelves. This means everyday items, from groceries to electronics, can become more expensive. They can hurt businesses that rely on imported goods. Many small businesses and manufacturers depend on materials and products from abroad. Higher tariffs can squeeze their profit margins and make it harder to compete, and they can spark retaliatory tariffs from other countries. When one country imposes tariffs, others often respond in kind, leading to a tit-for-tat escalation that can harm global trade. It's a delicate dance, and Trump, well, he's not exactly known for his fancy footwork. His approach to tariffs is more aggressive and confrontational, often leading to unpredictable outcomes. He's more of a bull in a china shop, really. Charging in with little regard for the consequences, his tariff policies can create chaos and disruption. charging in, breaking things, and leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. The long-term effects of his tariff strategy remain to be seen, but one thing is clear: it's a high-stakes game with far-reaching implications. So, what exactly does Trump want from Canada and Mexico? It's a question that has been on the minds of many ever since he took office. His demands have been a mix of serious policy changes and, well, some rather whimsical requests. Apart from, their unwavering adoration and a lifetime supply of maple syrup and tacos, yes, you heard that right, it seems like he wouldn't mind having a constant flow of these delicious treats. But let's dive into the more substantial demands. Well, he's got a few demands. These demands range from trade agreements to border security, and they have significant implications for the relationships between these neighboring countries. Border security is a big one. Trump has always emphasized the importance of securing the borders to prevent illegal immigration and ensure national security. Trump's obsessed with building a wall on the US-Mexico border. This wall has been a cornerstone of his immigration policy, and he believes it is essential to keep the country safe. A big, beautiful wall, as he likes to call it. He envisions it as a grand structure that will be both effective and symbolic of his commitment to border security, to keep out those pesky immigrants. His rhetoric often paints a picture of immigrants as a threat, which has been a point of contention and debate, and he wants Mexico to pay for it. This demand has been one of the most controversial, and has led to strained relations between the two countries, which, let's be honest, is about as likely as me winning a Grammy for my singing. The idea of Mexico footing the bill for the wall has been met with skepticism and outright rejection. He's also concerned about drug trafficking. Fair enough, the flow of illegal drugs across the border is a legitimate concern, and one that requires cooperation between nations. But he seems to think that Canada is some sort of drug smuggling haven. This perception has puzzled many, given Canada's reputation for being relatively low in drug trafficking issues, which is just plain silly. The idea that Canada is a major source of illegal drugs is not supported by evidence and seems more like a misunderstanding or exaggeration. Unless, of course, you consider maple syrup a gateway drug. This light-hearted jab highlights the absurdity of some of the claims and brings a bit of humor to the discussion. Beyond border security, trade is another major area of focus. Trump has been vocal about renegotiating trade deals to favor the United States, often criticizing NAFTA and pushing for new agreements. He wants to bring jobs back to America and reduce trade deficits. This has led to intense negotiations and sometimes contentious discussions with both Canada and Mexico. Agriculture is also a significant point of contention. Trump has sought better terms for American farmers, which has implications for Canadian and Mexican agricultural exports. Environmental regulations and energy policies have also been areas of dispute. Trump's stance on energy independence and deregulation often clashes with the environmental policies of Canada and Mexico. In summary, Trump's demands from Canada and Mexico are multifaceted and complex. They encompass border security, trade, agriculture, and energy policies, each with its own set of challenges and implications. Navigating these demands requires diplomacy, negotiation, and a willingness to find common ground. The relationships between these neighboring countries are crucial, and finding a balance is key to maintaining stability and cooperation in the region. Remember NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement? Yeah, Trump wasn't a fan. He called it the worst trade deal ever made, which is quite a statement, especially considering some of the other deals he's made. Anyway, he renegotiated it, and thus, the USMCA was born. The United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, it's basically NAFTA with a fresh coat of paint, and a few tweaks here and there. But is it any better? The jury's still out on that one. Some say it's a win for American workers, others argue it doesn't go far enough, and some, well, they're just happy Trump stopped tweeting about NAFTA. Section 5, Investor Jitters riding the roller coaster of Trump's trade wars. Now let's talk about the stock market, shall we? Because let's face it, that's what you're all here for. Trump's trade wars have injected a healthy dose of volatility into the market. One minute, stocks are soaring on hopes of a deal. The next, they're plummeting on fears of a full-fledged trade war. It's enough to give even the most seasoned investor whiplash. So, what's the takeaway? Buckle up, Buttercup, because as long as Trump's in charge, the stock market's going to be a wild ride. Section 6. A cloud of ambiguity, decoding Trump's true intentions. Here's the thing about Trump. He's unpredictable. He says one thing one day, and the complete opposite the next. He thrives on chaos. He loves to keep people guessing. So, what are his true intentions with Canada and Mexico? It's hard to say. Does he really want to renegotiate NAFTA, or is he just using it as leverage to get what he wants? Is he serious about building a wall, or is it all just a publicity stunt? Your guess is as good as mine, and that, my friends, is what makes him so dangerous. Section 7, Beyond the Deal, the future of US-Canada-Mexico relations. So, what does the future hold for US-Canada-Mexico relations? It's complicated. These three countries are inextricably linked, by geography, by history, and by economics. But Trump's actions have strained these relationships. He's sown seeds of distrust, he's created uncertainty, and he's made it clear that he's willing to put America's interests first, even if it comes at the expense of its allies. The long-term consequences of this approach remain to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the road ahead will be bumpy. Section 8, Navigating the Unknown Investment Strategies in the Age of Trump. So, what's an investor to do in these uncertain times? Diversify, diversify, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket is labeled Trump's trade war. Look for opportunities in sectors that are less exposed to trade tensions, and be prepared for volatility. Because as long as Trump's at the helm, the markets are going to be a wild ride. Oh, and maybe invest in some antacids. You're going to need them. Section 9. Conclusion: A New World Order. Trump's presidency has upended the global order. He's rewritten the rules of international diplomacy, and he's shown that he's not afraid to use America's economic might to get what he wants. His dealings with Canada and Mexico are just one example of this. The long-term consequences of his actions remain to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the world is watching, and holding its breath. Because in the age of Trump, anything is possible. And that's both exhilarating and terrifying. Good night, God bless.